Have you got your phone open on Insta, Kira?
No.
No, just ignore it. Hi, Kira. How are you? I think we're live.
How are you going?
I'm good. And hello to anyone who's joining us. We're actually across a couple of across a couple of different platforms today. So I'm just going to mute this. We're live across Insta and Facebook and YouTube. So we'll just wait and see for people to join in just for a second or so. And we're here today to talk about all things pregnancy and how physio can help you. So maybe we could get started with a little bit about the changes that happen right from the very beginning to your body when you become pregnant.
Yeah, so pretty much straight away our body starts changing in pregnancy, and never in our life will our body change this quickly in such a short space of time. So we're going to see in that first couple of weeks, you're going to have this increase in blood volume. So in those first couple of weeks, about 50% increase in your blood volume. And with that, you're going to get this heart rate needing to increase to cope with this. So with that, we're going to get an increase in work of breathing. So in those first couple of weeks of pregnancy, you'll be walking up the steps and all of a sudden you're out of breath and you go, what? Like, I'm 6 weeks pregnant. Like, I'm not carrying a massive baby just yet. Why am I so out of breath? And it's just because of that increase in blood volume. And also with that increase of blood volume, it's being redirected towards your baby. So you might find that your muscles fatigue quicker, you're feeling a little bit more tired, and that's because that blood volume is going to your baby to make it grow so quickly in those first initial weeks. Then we kind of get to things a little bit later on when you start to pop, that bump starts to pop. We're getting this changes in our center of gravity. We've got more weight coming forward. Our boobs are getting bigger. We're uncomfortable. And that's why we're getting those, that's why we can get those aches and pains that come with pregnancy. It's because we're just having to adapt so quickly to this ever-changing body, weight coming forward, shoulders are getting sore around upper back, lower back, all different things.
These are all pretty normal parts of pregnancy, and yes, you might not get them, but oftentimes women come in quite early and they're devastated because they think, oh my goodness, I've got this back pain, I've got this and that problem now, and I'm only 13 weeks. But actually, some of the hormones in your pregnancy peak at around 12 or 13 weeks because you've grown the placenta in that time, and so your hormones kind of sky and they peak at around that time and then they settle off again, so that can have an impact. And just because if you do get pain at that time in your pregnancy, it doesn't mean it's going to get worse, and it doesn't mean it's going to stick around the whole time, but it can do if you don't manage yourself properly. And I think a lot of the questions that came through tonight and over the week have been more to do with how do I manage so that I don't get worsening pain in pregnancy? How do I manage so that I can continue to exercise and do the things that I love to do? So we actually have I'm going to share with you guys today. This is our go-to. This can help low back pain, middle back pain. It's kind of a most bang for your buck type exercise program as such. And I think you can see there low back and pelvic pain prevention or reliever exercises. And if you do nothing else throughout your pregnancy, doing these is going to be really beneficial. So Kira, do you want to run through those for us?
Yeah, so the first one there, where it's our basic kind of child's pose that we give a lot of people with back pain. In pregnancy, we like to kind of move through it. So you're in the first position, first photo there, you'll see that Sam's in all fours, and then she's moving back into child's pose. And with these movements, we're just touching the boundaries. So we're there in all fours and back, gentle touch for a second or two, and then coming back up. As you kind of get further along in pregnancy, you might need to widen out your knees to just allow for that big belly getting in the way. And that's just going to feel a really nice stretch through your lower back into your glutes. Great if you've got tailbone pain, pelvic pain, back pain, it's perfect for that. Yeah. The next one there is all fours to cat and cow. So once again, we're moving through the movements. We're not just holding one position. So starting in all fours, moving up and down, arching your back, both ways through there. And you're just going to feel a really nice stretch through that upper back, and moving that pelvis as well is going to help your lower back pain. The next exercise there, we've got bridge, double leg bridge. This is the best exercise to do when you're pregnant, because we can incorporate so many different things that we need to work on when we're pregnant into just one exercise. So it's working on our breathing, it's working on our pelvic floor exercises, it's working on strengthening our glutes. And we know that having strong glutes is going to mean that you're going to have less likely to get pelvic pain or back pain when you're pregnant. And also being strong in glutes is perfect for picking up your child 100,000 times that you're going to
of motherhood, right?
Yes, all those joys of motherhood.
I just wanted to mention too, while we're talking about strength in pregnancy, there actually isn't a lot of hardline evidence for exercise in pregnancy, for doing particular exercise in pregnancy, except for glute strengthening. So a lot of women say, I've been trying to stretch and it just isn't making a difference. Yeah. But actually we know that strength is the one that is most likely to make a difference. Stretch might make you feel better for a little while, but having consistent strength in your glutes and doing those bridges, even just a few, is the most important thing.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, the bridge is the perfect exercise because you can incorporate your pelvic floor exercises as well. So how you can do that? So in the first picture there, I'm sure Sam's having a nice big deep breath into her belly. She's feeling that she's really relaxing her pelvic floor. She's relaxing her rib cages into the floor there. And then she's going to have an exhale. When she exhales, she'll do a slight pelvic tilt. So we're trying to bring our pelvis closer to our rib cages, feel a little bit of tensing over our abdominals and our pelvic floor, trying to do a contraction. So a good cue is to zip up in between your legs. And then we're going to lift up our hips up off the bed. We recommend holding for 5 seconds. You might do 5 sets of those. And that's just a really nice exercise to get those glutes firing, get that back working, get that pelvic floor working, and get those abdominals firing as well. So it's awesome.
With that too, I can remember, and if you have seen me in the past, you probably know that I've said things like, grip your butt cheeks like you've got $1 million credit card between them. That's all well and good, and that's advice that I would have previously given. And for some women, that's important. But actually, it's also important that on the way down, you relax it all as well. It's not all about having everything on and grippy all the time, because that can be a reason why you have pain. Yes. And so learning to be more functional and coordinate both the contract and the relax is very important. There's quite there's a high frequency of seeing women, particularly with high tone pelvic floors at the minute, or grippy glutes. And that's because, we want to remain strong. But actually we need to learn to do the opposite as well, which is relax, down tone, because towards the end of your pregnancy, you want everything in your pelvis to relax if you want to have a normal vaginal delivery. So, it might have sounded overcomplicated then, but it's all about strength and then relax.
Absolutely. And I actually talked about it with a pregnant patient today, is that that tension to task is like, the kind of trigger word that we use. We don't need to hold on all the time with our glutes. We don't need to hold on our pelvic floor all the time. And in fact, if we're doing so, if we're always holding onto our pelvic floor, so if you imagine you're doing a bicep contraction, you're already holding on, you've got kind of only this half range to go. But if you can completely relax your bicep, then you've got this big, massive contraction that you can do. And same with our pelvic floor. If you can really relax it, then we can get this big contraction when we need it, when we're coughing, sneezing, jumping, running, whatever we're doing. I kind of got off track there from our
no, that's okay. It's all useful.
So next one there is some mid-back rotations or thread the needles. So this is awesome exercise for that upper back tightness that you get as our kind of boobs just grow out of like massive, like it's ridiculous. It's, first couple of weeks, you're like, what has happened here? And then especially early postnatal, these thread the needles are perfect. Just reaching up with one hand, then across your body underneath there, you'll see in the pictures there. And the last one there, we've got laying with the legs up on the wall. So this is great for lots of different reasons, this exercise. So as we kind of get it further along in our pregnancy, especially if we're heading into those summer months. Fluid retention can be really common in pregnancy. So we might feel like we're getting swollen ankles and those type of things. So lying up with our legs up against the wall is just going to help get that fluid kind of back to the heart and pumping around rather than pooling there in our ankles. Another reason it's going to be really awesome to do is for cramps. Some women kind of that second trimester, they're starting to experience
4 weeks, I think.
Starting to experience some cramps. Of course, always at night when you're trying to sleep and rest. Okay. And it's, it can help. It has helped people to get their legs up on the wall and just help drain all that, get that fluid going, relax their legs, get off their feet kind of thing. Also, I know we're not really talking postnatal, but just to kind of get it in the back of your mind there, great exercise postnatal for any heaviness or discomfort that you might be feeling in your pelvis or vagina. This is just getting your hips up getting your legs up in the air, just relaxing, letting everything kind of gravity do its job, essentially. So that's just an awesome exercise to do there.
And one of the things that a lot of women come in and say when they get back pain, it's because they've been really hypervigilant about not sleeping on their backs, because they've been advised not to sleep on their backs. And that's absolutely true. From about 28 weeks of pregnancy, it's recommended that you don't fall asleep on your back. But doing an exercise for a couple of minutes is most likely not going to be a problem. If you do feel like you are faint or dizzy, or you don't feel baby move, or you just feel sick when you lay on your back, that's your body telling you not to lay on your back. So just lay on your left hand side, and this exercise might not be for you. It is certainly one that helped me a hell of a lot in my second pregnancy when I had lots of cramps. The other thing was popping a pillow under the bum, and sometimes under the right side, can alleviate that kind of a dizzy or low blood pressure type feeling when doing that. But the other thing I wanted to mention with all those exercises too, Kira, is that we can start to coordinate your breathing with it. Yes. So, and that's good practice for labor. If you know how your breath works, and you're in tune with your breath, then labor can be very helpful for labor. So with these exercises, you breathe in when you're up on all fours, and then you breathe out when you sit back for child's pose. You breathe in when you're dipping your back, and breathe out when you're arching your back for cat-cow. You breathe in when you're reaching up, and breathe out when you're reaching through for the thread the needle. And that just helps you to learn how to coordinate your breath. And your diaphragm, or your breathing muscle, is actually opposite your pelvic floor muscle. So that, gets your pelvic floor working a bit more functionally as well. And I think that's kind of important to note with these exercises. So like Kira said at the start, it's very much, these are the most bang for your buck for lots of different types of pain.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stop sharing that now. Yeah, I think you can probably see our faces again. The other question that I had, and I've actually got a couple of friends at the minute who are pretty close to the end of their pregnancy, and they were like, how do I get this baby out? When's labor going to start? And if you've been pregnant before, you know how I would like, maybe, Kira, if you could share your story about pregnancy and perhaps going overdue, and what you tried and what you didn't try.
Absolutely. Yes, I felt like I was 400,000 years pregnant.
How far were you in your actual?
I was induced at 41 and 3 days. So that's kind of the longest that they
kind of let you go only 10
let
days.
you go. And I had a really good I had to get induced, and I had a really good story, but my natural kind of things that we know of and has been shown to have some maybe success rate. So exercise is great. Getting moving, getting your body moving. Like specific things like deep squats, side stepping, just to try and help shift that pelvis from side to side, and baby to come lower down and press on that cervix. That's what you kind of want to have that in to help induce labor, is that pressing on the cervix. So that's kind of the mindset behind exercising. And side step movements or deep squats is just to help baby kind of get into the pelvis and put pressure on the cervix. Other things that we can do in the clinic is, or show you, is some pressure points, acupuncture pressure points. I was needling myself in all the points trying to induce labor. So there's some in your hands and your feet that we can definitely show. That's only, after 38 weeks, we wouldn't do it beforehand. And then sex can be a good way to naturally induce labor. So it's the hormones that you release when you orgasm that is actually being shown to help induce labor.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same hormone, right? Oxytocin is
oxytocin. Sorry, yeah.
It's funny with my births. Always I get impatient towards the end, and I only ever went over by a little bit. But I was always, because I'm a physio, I'm like, I've got to be active. I've got to do these things, and yeah, they helped to some degree, and they particularly did with the third pregnancy, but I think it's just more my body knew what to do. But also you really have to let oxytocin happen.
Yeah.
So the love hormone, watching the lovely movies and crying. And yeah, in terms of the physical side, again, you talked about with the pelvis, your pelvis is basically three bones, and you've got two that are kind of like this, and then your tailbone in the middle. And in order for baby's head to move down and put that pressure on the cervix, you want your pelvis to what we call nutate a little bit, or kind of like rotate, and that can help baby kind of turn
down.
Yeah. I was in July, I was meant to be doing a course for spinning babies, and if you are towards the end of your pregnancy and your bub's maybe not in the most optimal position, I highly recommend spinning babies. And I'm just hanging and waiting for when that course actually gets, much like most people are waiting for a course. Yeah.
And I also wanted to say, it's hard when you're in it, and I had been there, and I know this was my area of study and everything, but just being patient and trusting the process. I think that I really got into my own head, just felt that poor Maggie was never going to come out, and I think that didn't help. So mindset, not really my area of expertise, but I'm sure meditation, trying to relax and just let it happen and be patient. I think in hindsight, and we know that would be the best way to help labor come.
Yeah, for sure. And while we're kind of heading down that end of pregnancy, like quite closer towards the end, do you want to talk a bit about birth skills?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely love.
Love talking about labor. It's one of the most empowering, amazing things I've done twice, and kind of half of me wants to do it again, but not
I swear having the third baby was one of those things, was like, I get to do birth again.
That's probably the biggest thing. Tim's not keen, but I think our biggest focus is trying to be active as much as you can throughout labor. So kind of the same way of inducing labor is trying to get that pelvis moving, and shimmying that kind of the baby down into your pelvis to put the pressure on the cervix to help keep it dilating. So that is my recommendation, being upright, even if it's up in bed, you can be on all fours, you can be sitting up high, you can be walking, you can be sitting up in the shower, swaying your legs, kicking. As much as you can to be upright is going to be the best to help. And we know that it's going to help make labor be less painful, go faster. You're going to get more enjoyment out of it. Your partner's going to feel really involved in it. So other tips besides, sorry, Sam?
No, you go.
I say other tips is a lot of side stepping or walking up and down steps. If it's normal way or sideways is going to help that. Other good skills to think about. So
I just wanted to, while we're doing like the side thing, my midwife in my third labor really got me doing this thing where you'd do a side lunge and then a twist and a side lunge and a twist, and your hips almost doing like a figure of 8, and that's helping that pelvis nutation. So even though my feet were planted on the ground, just even doing like a dip the hips, I think it's called, and I think it's on that spinning baby.
Yeah, perfect.
So if stairs are like, because I have stairs in my house, I was in labor and I was looking at my stairs going, I don't want to go up them again. But stairs are a great option for early labor.
Yes. When you're not so exhausted. And a bigger lots of other ways that we can help make labor active is, and what we want to do is kind of distract our mind from the pain.
Yeah.
So this pain in labor is pain with purpose. It's not a danger mechanism. We're not out, we haven't cut ourselves, or we haven't broken a bone, or the normal reasons why we get these pain signals. It's pain with purpose. So we're just trying to distract ourselves from the pain that we're in labor with. So I used a lot of counting, like I was just counting in different lots of numbers throughout a contraction. What else we do? Music. Some people like music to kind of get the mood calm. Lots of rhythmic things, I think, is the best to kind of distract your mind, so you have to keep concentrating on doing it. So I was counting and keeping a rhythm and tapping, or eventually as labor got more intense, I was in the shower and I was splashing my feet just in a rhythmic pattern. So all that rhythmic stuff, I think, is very important to distract yourself. Some people like to use visualization. So they're, through a contraction, they're visualizing they're walking at their favorite spot or going for a nice walk, or they can visualize what the baby's doing inside them. That's another technique. And the biggest tip is when you're in a contraction, to use all your strategies and techniques. But when you are in between contractions, you rest.
Yes.
And
the rest is just as important. It's most important.
Most important. So that, because you don't know how long you're going to be in labor for. So if you are resting in between contractions, you can kind of regroup, think about what you're going to do again, rather than doing all your techniques and getting exhausted and all different stuff. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah. So contractions build up and over the course of your labor, and they go for about a minute. Mm-hmm. You can do anything for a minute. That's what was going over in my head always. And then just an absolute activity, controlling what you can control, because I think with birth you can't control it. There's no lying that you can't control it, but you can control other things. So you control the way your hands are, you control the way your legs move, you control that rhythm. And if you can control something, because all of us for some reason want to control everything in our lives, and right now we're really learning how to lose control, but in labor and birth you really learn how to lose control. And so being able to control what you can is kind of a nice way to prepare, in a sense.
Yes.
But yes, and when you're in that, when that contraction stops, you rest. Absolutely rest.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think another thing that I forgot about is sound, making noises. I remember there's a book that Sam and I recommend called Active Birth Skills by Juju Sundin. So in that it has a whole chapter about sound. And I remember reading it and going, I will never ever scream. Like, I'm never going to scream. I'll never make a noise. Like, I'm a quiet, reserved person. Like, that's a bit extreme. In labor, I was making all the noise. And again, it was a rhythmic thing that I was like banging balls, and I was rhythmical. I wasn't just screaming for no reason. And it was just, that was exactly, I'm releasing the pain I'm feeling. I'm controlling what I can control by focusing on something that I can have control over, which was my voice, what my arms were doing, what my legs were doing, what my body was doing. And that also is reminded me of the other stuff that your partner or birthing partner can also do, some acupressure points.
I recommend doing that course, like a course on acupressure, if you can find one, for sure.
Just hold, lots of different points, acupressure points that you can use in the body. Some people like heat packs. Some people can use TENS machines. There's lots of different strategies that you can use as more of a non-medical pain relieving things in labor.
And that's got these things that we've talked about today. We do a workshop that goes for about 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours. And when we're not in COVID, we do a workshop. And we've kind of summarized a lot of that into this half hour now, but we do plan to do an online workshop in the coming months. We just haven't quite organized it yet, unfortunately. Me being still only 6 months postpartum, my brain is going at about this level, and this is exciting that we get to do this tonight anyway. I'm really stoked, and we've only got a few minutes left. Just wondering if anyone else out there has any other questions. Feel free to pop them up in the comments. I always love hearing your birth story, Kira. Like, I know that wasn't your whole story, and I feel like I've heard it a million times, and all of the things that you do just totally resonate with me as well. And
yes, I love a birth story, so
yeah. Yeah, we need to be sharing some more on our Instagram, I think.
We do.
Send us your birth stories if you've already had babies, and even if you've had babies, if you've had a baby and you're having a second or third, fourth baby, and if you haven't read Birth Skills by Juju Sundin, I highly recommend that one. I read it the first time, and like Kira said with the sound, it was one of those things that you kind of disregarded and thought, no, I'm not going to be like that. And there were lots of things in that I thought was hairy-fairy and silly. But my second pregnancy, I looked into it a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
And then my third pregnancy, I looked into it again and I made notes, and it was it certainly helped in my labour. And
I just we just want to also say, Sam and I, that we're all in lockdown, but people are still getting pregnant, people are still having babies. We're still here to support you. We're deemed as an essential service. So if you're experiencing any pelvic pain, back pain, upper back pain, you have any questions about how to exercise throughout pregnancy or early postnatal, please come and see us. We're here. We want to help you. You don't have to.
A whole bunch of us. There's lots of us.
Yeah.
And we'd love to see you, because we're craving human connection as much as what you are. And so we're always in clinic.
Yes.
So make sure you come by if you need us. Any book recommendations was a question that just popped up. Any other book recommendations? No, I don't really have any other book recommendations. Do you, Kira?
I don't know. And I think just find the right people on your kind of social media accounts, and that type of stuff. And I think there's lots of good resources out there. Australian Birth Stories is an awesome podcast to listen to and follow on Facebook, Instagram. They share.
Birth and Beyond is another podcast. I think podcasts, although they're not written, I think for us busy mums, podcasts are easy because we can put an earphone in and listen when we're driving and whatnot. But Bub Birth and Beyond, but something like that, and Australian Birth Stories if you're keen to listen to birth stories. But the only other book would be Birth Skills. And with the exercises and with whatever exercise you are doing, there's no one size fits all. Like, I think the biggest thing you need to take away from pregnancy is that you can't compare yourself to anyone else. And that's why people like us exist. That's why women's health physios exist. So we can look at you and how you move and tweak the way you move to suit you better. And same with birth, same with motherhood. It's just comparison is the thief of joy, right? So I don't think we have any more questions. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks. I'll be talking with Melinda, I believe, in a couple of weeks about postnatal, which is exciting. We could probably talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles about that too, Kira, but we'll leave Melinda up to that. She's an absolute guru. But thanks for joining me today, Kira.
Thanks so much. Thanks guys for listening in. Awesome.
We'll see you next time.
See you guys.